It was the season of early monsoon, when the earth, freshly bathed by morning rains, released a fragrance of renewal. The forests were lush, and the rivers swelled with energy. In the heart of northern India, in the region near Rajagaha, the Blessed One, Gautama Buddha, continued his wanderings with a small group of disciples. They had risen before the sun, as was their custom, meditated beneath the ancient sal trees, and now walked barefoot toward the village of Natika. Their robes of faded ochre brushed softly against their legs as they moved in silence. Only the faint sound of footfalls and the rustling leaves accompanied them. Buddha walked at the head of the line, his presence both commanding and gentle. In his hand, he carried a simple bowl carved from black clay. It was empty, not from poverty, but from principle. The monks of the Sangha were to rely on the generosity of others for their food, practicing humility and detachment each day. As they entered the outskirts of the village, the sky brightened. Villagers noticed the arrival of the monks and gathered along the dusty road. Men and women, young and old, brought offerings, bowls of rice, mango slices, fresh water, boiled greens. Some bowed deeply, others clasped their hands together in reverence. Among the gathering was a man named Raga. He was known in the village not for wisdom, but for pride. A wealthy landowner, Raga believed in the old order of things: power through inheritance, status through birth, and control through fear. He saw Buddha as a threat to tradition, an outsider drawing followers away from household duties and ancestral beliefs. When Raga saw people bowing to this wandering ascetic, giving him food with reverence, something within him boiled. "What foolishness," he muttered, then louder. "This man teaches people to abandon the world. He tells sons to leave their fathers, women to reject their homes. He sits under trees while others labor in the fields." The crowd grew quiet. Buddha, who was receiving a spoonful of rice from a young girl, looked up. His expression was serene, but attentive. Raga stepped forward. "You, Siddhartha," he said, deliberately using the Buddha's birth name, "are a destroyer of order. What is this emptiness you preach? What use is an empty bowl, an empty house, or an empty mind?" Some villagers gasped. A few monks stirred, uncomfortable. But Buddha's gaze remained gentle. He did not flinch, did not respond with reprimand or disdain. Instead, he asked softly, "Tell me, friend, if someone offers a gift, a fruit, a jewel, or even an insult, and the recipient does not take it, to whom does it belong?" Raga blinked. The question was simple, but strange. "If one does not accept it," he said slowly, "it remains with the one who offered it." Buddha nodded. "Just so. I do not accept your anger. It remains with you." There was a stillness in the air. Even the birds in the trees seemed to pause their song. "But," Buddha continued, "you ask what use there is in emptiness. Look at my bowl." He held it up. "It is empty, yes, but because of that, it is ready to be filled. Had it been full already, could it have received the offerings of this village? In the same way, a mind full of ego cannot receive wisdom. A heart full of hatred cannot hold compassion. Emptiness, Raga, is not loss, it is space. And space is where new things can grow." Raga's mouth opened, then closed. The crowd looked at him, some expectantly, others with silent judgment. But the Buddha's words had pierced deeper than any insult Raga had thrown. Still, pride is not easily dissolved. "Easy words," Raga sneered. "You live off others. What do you build? What crops do you plant? You produce nothing but silence and riddles." Buddha looked at him with clear eyes. "You speak a building," he said. "But tell me, if a man builds a palace on sand and the wind blows it down, what remains?" "Nothing," Raga said, folding his arms. "And if a man builds a hut on rock and the storms come, what remains?" "The hut," Raga said warily. Buddha said, "The palace is your pride. It dazzles, but it does not last. The hut is humility, modest but enduring. I do not plant crops in fields, but I sow seeds in hearts. Not all take root, but those that do grow trees that shade generations." There was no mockery in his voice, no triumph, only a calm certainty, like water flowing over stone. Raga stood still for a moment, Something flickered in his expression. Doubt, perhaps, or the first stirrings of understanding. But he turned and walked away. The villagers slowly resumed their offerings, more quietly now, but with deep respect. The Buddha did not speak again. He received what was given, bowed in gratitude, and moved on with his disciples. That night, under the shelter of a great banyan tree, Ananda, the Buddha's devoted attendant, sat beside him and asked, "Lord, were you not angered by Raga's words? He meant to humiliate you before the people." Buddha smiled gently. "Ananda, if someone throws burning coals at you, but you do not catch them, who is burned?" Ananda paused. "The one who threw them." "Exactly," said the Buddha. "Anger is like fire. It consumes first the one who ignites it. Had I held on to Raga's words, I would have burned with him, but I let them fall like dry leaves in the wind." Ananda bowed his head. "You are a river, Lord. Others throw mud, but you remain clear." The Buddha did not answer. He simply closed his eyes and entered meditation. Years passed. The seasons turned. Villages flourished and faded. Kings rose and fell. The Buddha's fame grew, but he remained the same, wandering, teaching, meditating beneath the open sky. In time, Raga's fortunes declined. His land, once fertile, was struck by drought. His children, once obedient, quarreled over inheritance. His name, once spoken with deference, was mentioned less and less. One evening, burdened by sorrow and solitude, Raga walked alone through the forest. He heard a murmur, chanting, soft and rhythmic. Following the sound, he came upon a clearing where monks sat in silent meditation. Among them was a figure radiant in stillness. Raga recognized him at once. The years had lined Buddha's face, but his presence had only deepened in peace. Raga stood silently at the edge of the grove. Buddha opened his eyes and saw him. This time, there were no insults, no crowd, just two men beneath the stars. Raga approached and bowed. His voice trembled. "I have lost much," he said, "but I remember what you said about the bowl and the fire and the seeds. I have carried anger for many years, like a stone in my heart. I am tired." Buddha gestured to the ground, then put the stone down. Raga sat. That night, beneath the ancient sky, teacher and former accuser spoke not of doctrine, but of suffering and of letting go. And in the silence between words, something new began to grow. Epilogue. Raga became a student of the Dharma. He later joined the Sangha, exchanging his silk for saffron robes. In time, he was known not for wealth, but for humility. People still told the story of the angry man and the empty bowl, not as a tale of defeat, but of transformation. For wisdom, like a bowl, is not useful because it is full, but because it has space to receive. Moral. Letting go is not weakness. It is strength. To carry anger is to burden yourself with fire. To let it go is to become light, and like the empty bowl, open to peace.